What's going on, guys? Welcome back to yet another video. As you probably guessed by the title, this video is all about building bigger biceps. Biceps are probably the most aesthetic muscle on the whole entire body, and anyone that trains wants bigger biceps, and anyone that asks to see your muscles asks you to flex your biceps. Not to mention that bigger biceps just leads to a fuller looking arm. Anyway, I'm going to give you some tips on how to build bigger biceps, so make sure you stay tuned. So if your biceps are growing, it's likely you're either doing too little volume for them or too much volume for them. I know this sounds a bit confusing, but a 2019 study by Schoenfeld et al. Showed significantly more arm growth when 20 plus sets, that's including indirect work, per week were done compared to 6 working sets. And you're probably thinking, what do you mean by indirect work? So bent over rows, pull-ups significantly work the biceps. Same with bench press, that significantly works the triceps, but we're talking about biceps. So let's say in a pull session, you do 8 sets or between pull-ups and bent over rows, for example. You might not, you might do different exercises, but for example, let's say you do those. That's 8 sets for the back, and that's also 8 sets for your biceps. And then let's say you do, I don't know, 2 to 3 isolation moves. You could be edging on the side of overtraining, especially if that's a push-pull split, which means you'll be doing each workout twice over 7 days. So if you kind of get where I'm going with this, is your weekly set volume will be well over 20, probably more like the 40 if you're doing that. That's why I always advise and I always prescribe for clients, in a push-pull routine split, I would prescribe 1 isolation exercise, say for the biceps, and 1 isolation exercise for the triceps, and the rest will be compound lifts which significantly target the biceps and triceps alike. But that's just an example. And if you're probably watching this video and say, I'm not doing many compound exercises, I suggest you do. And if you want to increase your volume to the point where you're getting about 20 plus weekly sets, I'd say 20 plus weekly, I would say 20 weekly sets of, say, bicep, maybe 25 with including indirect work, is enough for most people to see significant muscle growth. So if you're nowhere near that, you're on the lower end, then slowly add like set by set each week. And if you're way above that, reduce that down. Seriously, like you're going to see some serious benefits, and you're going to get less inflamed, you're going to recover better, you're going to see less injuries, and you're going to thank me when you have bigger biceps. The most common thing I see people doing here is swinging. Swinging when they're doing curls, involving way too much of the delts and taking away tension off the biceps. You don't want that. Also, along with the swinging, there's a shrug at the top of the motion, which involves your traps and takes away tension from your bicep. And the last one, which I see, which is probably equally as common, is the flexing of the wrists. When you're flexing the wrists, again, you're taking tension off the biceps and you're working the forearms more. There's nothing wrong with working the forearms. You're always going to work the forearms really when you're doing biceps, but you don't want to be working them more than the biceps. So some tips for that, to just make sure you keep your elbows fixed by your sides and they'll move slightly, but make sure they're mostly fixed by your side and they're not moving. And to stop yourself from shrugging, pin your shoulder blades back and down and your chest up slightly as well. And to avoid curling the wrists up, to avoid flexing the wrists at the top, or even at the bottom sometimes as well, what you can do is actively supinate. So if you actively supinate, you're flexing a bicep, and you can do that as well more effectively by really squeezing hard on the pinky and the ring finger. When you squeeze hard on the pinky and the ring finger, you're really gonna contract that bicep as much as possible. So when it comes to working the biceps, you don't want to go crazy with the load. You don't want to overload the biceps to the point where you're using other muscles to move the actual bar. You want to focus on actually contracting the biceps. This is why I recommend all my clients and anyone watching this sticking between 8 to 20 sets when you're working your biceps. This will ensure that you're not going crazy and involving like your traps, your shoulders, your back, and every other muscle apart from your actual biceps. So actually focus on the contraction, focus on moving the weight with your biceps, focus on loading your biceps throughout the whole movement under tension. And doing this is also known as the mind-muscle connection.
I think the biggest mistake is that you go to the gym and you go through the motion, but you don't really have your mind inside the muscle.
And it will lead to significantly more muscle growth over time, and that is what you want. You want those bigger biceps. A 2018 study by Schoenfeld et al. Actually showed significantly, almost double the amount of growth when the participants focused on the mind-muscle connection rather than just moving the weight. So next time you train your biceps, focus on actually feeling each rep in your biceps rather than feeling everything else but your biceps. So really focus on, and you're gonna probably have to reduce the weight to feel this, but that is completely fine. Forget what the gym bro said. If you want to maximize your bicep gains, take it through its full range of motion. A 2012 study by Pinto et al. Showed that taking the biceps through their full range of motion during a bicep curl actually led to significantly greater gains in muscle size and strength when compared with partial ranges of motion. And you can actually ensure that you're getting the full range of motion by squeezing your triceps at the bottom. This allows for full stretch of the biceps and also allows for maximum bicep recruitment. That is all for this video. The full summary is on the screen now. If you follow all these points, you will see significant bicep development. That's if you're not following them already. If you have any questions, comment below. If you enjoyed this video, give it a massive thumbs up. Also, hit that subscribe button if you haven't subscribed already. Until the next video, keep pushing those limits.